the Senate is split 50-50, and we've heard a lot about a potential for Congress to use something called this reconciliation process. For those of us like me who are not budget geeks out there, what is this and how might Congress use it?
Okay, so first, why does it have such a weird name? The weird name comes from the fact that it is part of the Budget Act of 1974, which was the first institution of budget process into the U.S. Congress. It created the budget committees. It created the annual cycle of having budget resolutions, plans for taxes and spending, and also created the Congressional Budget Office as sort of the institutional underpinnings of this. And so you pass a budget resolution. That's essentially a plan to have so much in the way of taxes, so much in the way of entitlement spending, so much in the way of annual spending. And then you want to somehow reconcile the difference between the plan and reality. Okay, that can be hard. And the concern at the time, 1974, was Congress doesn't like to raise taxes. Congress doesn't like to cut spending. We got to find a way to make it easier to do hard things. And so reconciliation was supposed to be an easier way to reconcile the budget to reality and do these hard things. And in particular, what it did was bypass the rules of the Senate, which allow for unlimited debate until a supermajority votes to end the debate, and then you take a vote for passage. Well, what it said is we can stop the debate with a fast track procedure, and you only need 51 votes then to pass it. You don't need 60. So that's what reconciliation is, and it was intended to cut budget deficits in a more timely fashion. It has never been used for that. Okay, that's the important thing. Never. Instead, it has been used for the Reagan tax cuts. It has been used for the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. It was used to finish the job on Obamacare, all sorts of things like that. And that has raised two issues. They were both raised by the late Senator Robert Byrd of West Virginia. Both are called Byrd rules, and they are what you're going to hear all sorts of things about. First is he didn't like the idea that instead of reducing budget deficits, it was creating some. So he objected to any reconciliation bill that created a deficit past the 10-year window, past the budget window. And so he created a point of order in the Senate rules that says I can object to that reconciliation bill, and we need 60 votes to override the point of order. So now you're back to a 60 vote rule. They ultimately embedded that in law. Okay, so now you've got this sort of anti-deficit piece hanging out there. That's one. But the second one that you're going to hear so much about is they were using this to bypass the rules of his beloved Senate. He didn't like that. So it should only be used in the most limited fashion. We can't let them bypass on anything under the sun. So the second Byrd rule is whether something is genuinely a budgetary issue or is it just trying to make policy in disguise. And that's a germaneness test. And so you look at a provision and say, is this really budgetary in nature, or is the minimum wage? Yeah, it has budgetary effects, but they are incidental to the policy objective, which is to pay people more. And so non-germane things can get pulled out. That's the second Byrd rule. This stops passing a lot of things in reconciliation. We heard this when they tried to repeal Obamacare using reconciliation. So hey, you can't get rid of all of it because it's not budgetary. The same is going to come up with a lot of the discussion over the next year. So short version is it was supposed to be a budgetary fast track for tough things. It's turned into a fast track for things that are not even necessarily budgetary. And there's attempts to sort of put guardrails on that process. And that's what we're going to hear about.